right here with Joe Theismann. I'm Ken Marangola. I want to say hi to our co-writer Kevin Ewald all the way out to Aruba. We're here with Joe Theismann.
In Aruba?
In Aruba,
You stinker, you.
I know, he blew you off.
I can't believe it. I'm crushed. I'm crushed.
Well, we're here.
I hope it rains on you at least one day.
2 days.
2 days.
We're here with Joe. We got a big event here at FedEx Field. Joe, will you tell us a little something about what you guys are doing here today?
What this is this is a for a Healthier America campaign that's been put together, and what we're doing is we're having a free screening for veterans and their families to deal with chronic diseases. 1 out of every 2 Americans has a chronic disease. 5.5 million veterans have had it. And it's a little way for GlaxoSmithKline and the Redskins in a joint effort, as well as 13 other partners, to be able to go out and say, come on out here, get a free screening. Thank you very much for what you do. Veterans Day is coming up next week, and we certainly want to appreciate and thank all the veterans out there that have protected our freedom and fought for our freedoms. And this is a little way to say thank you. How about if we take care of you now?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of Redskins fans, of course, being from the area, have a lot of family members in the service, past and present. What kind of draws you to take part in an event like this?
Well, I've been a part of the Washington community for 35 years. This is my home. They'll probably bury me here at some point in time. I've been so appreciative of the fans, of the support that they've given this organization, this football team, and it's time to be able to create awareness. Now, how many people can I reach? I don't know. But if I reach one more person today than I could have by not being here, then I consider it a major accomplishment. I think it's really important that we get out and support the veterans, that people get out and get to the doctors. It's basically a triple solution that we put together. First of all is prevention. Go to the doctors, get your checkups, make sure your proper diet is there. Work on the things that make you feel good. So often we wait for people to tell us what we need to do. It's time for us to take the bull by the horns and go do it ourselves. The next one is intervention. If your doctor says you need to be on this medicine, do it. Let them treat you. Let your doctor take care of you. And the third is innovation. We need to be able to support those entities that can come up with new drugs, new solutions, new cures when it comes to dealing with chronic diseases. So hence the triple solution's been put together.
That's fantastic. Well, we appreciate you being here for this. We think it's a special event. We've been promoting on our website, and we thank you for that. If we could, we'd like to transition to some Redskins-related questions.
We should. We're here.
I remember, my earliest memories of the Redskins are, of course, watching you at quarterback for some of the most powerful offenses statistically in the history of the NFL. I think what people sometimes forget or take a little bit for granted is when you came into this league, you weren't the MVP quarterback. You were actually kind of buried, beneath, on the depth chart beneath some other, pretty great ones. And my question is what was it like to work with, to go to work and work alongside of guys like Sonny Jurgensen and Billy Kilmer?
It was very special. And when I worked with Sonny and Billy, it was only years after they retired from the game and I had a chance to look back at my experience with them that I really appreciated how great they were and how unique they were. Sonny was the kind of a guy where everybody looked at and said, don't worry about it, Sonny will take care of it. Billy was the kind of a player who had a bit of a limp, the ball wobbled a little bit, and he could get guys around him to raise their level of play.
Sure.
Both of them great leaders in entirely different ways. Both of them very passionate about the game of football. Both of them had a lot of fun. That's the one thing when I look at this current football team that we have with the Washington Reds, they aren't having fun. Even if things were going bad, we still would figure out a way to have fun because let's face it, it's a game, Ken. We all started doing it when we were 12.
Yeah.
Today, you drive down on the mall today in Washington, D.C., you're going to see kids, you're going to see adults, you're going to see soccer games, you're going to see football games.
Yep.
That's what we do. We go have a good time.
Well, you talk about the team that we have on the field today. You've been a player, you've covered the league, you've had insight and access to everyone who's been a part of this game for the last 30 years. If you were handed this roster, what offensive philosophy would you employ to best take advantage of the personnel that we have on this team?
Well, it starts with the 5 guys up front. Sure. You have to make sure that they can play together. Fortunately for the Redskins, they've had a couple of weeks to try and fix it. Chris Samuels is gone, Randy Thomas is gone, 2/5 of the offensive line is gone. You're talking 40%.
Absolutely.
You take 40% out of anything, it's going to suffer. Will Stephon Hire be good enough to step in? Will Chad Reinhardt? Will Montgomery? Will these guys be able to play? Will Mike Williams be able to play? That's something we're going to have to find out against the Atlanta Falcons coming up very shortly. But that's the first area you'd have to look at.
Sure. And I guess specific somewhat to that area, in your professional perspective, do you think that the decision making, specifically regarding the player personnel decisions on the off season and such, with this franchise is something that should be systematically or fundamentally changed?
You're trying to ask me in a politically correct way, should Vinny be fired and did he do a lousy job?
That's exactly what I'm trying
That's
to
what you're trying to say? No, I don't agree with that. I think if you look at the personnel that's been added, I think Fred Davis can play. I think Malcolm Kelly can play. I think Devin Thomas can play. I think D'Angelo Hall can play. I think Albert Hainsworth. Ask Andre Carter what he's meant, what Albert Hainsworth has meant. We haven't been able to create.
It shows up. It shows up.
I mean, last year he had what, 4 sacks. This year he's got 6.5 in 7 ball games. So the defensive side of the ball is doing very well, as it did a year ago. Offensively is where we have a problem. I think if you look at this football team, you tried to marry a West Coast offense with a different style of personnel, with a more physical. The way Coach Gibbs ran his offense was different than the way Coach Zorn runs his. And there's this transition period that we're going through right now. That to me was probably one area where when you made the choice of who was going to be the coach, who was going to be the coordinator, did he fit the personnel that we have?
Sure.
That to me hasn't necessarily panned out.
You brought up Chris Samuels. I had an interesting conversation with Doc Walker not too long ago, and it was surprising to me, or it shouldn't have been surprising, that a guy with his insight and his a person whose opinion you respect said something like, the one guy on this roster who you could tear the whole thing apart and rebuild around again has been Chris Samuels, and it's been that way for a while. He's not only been the anchor of our offensive line, he's really been the anchor of our team. He promotes a workmanlike attitude from top to bottom, and he gets guys playing no matter what the record is and no matter what's going on around the team. Who on this roster right now do you see as someone who's going to fill in that void of being really the anchor of this team?
We haven't found it yet.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That has to emerge in the next 9 weeks, hopefully sooner than that.
Okay.
But you can also say that about John Jansen, going back a few years ago. When you had John and Chris, that was something special. But Doc's right. Chris was the kind of guy who was truly an anchor. You could build around. You could count on that position, a very important position to count on. No one has really emerged yet in this football team as far as who's going to take the offensive lead and be that person to build around.
In your time here in D.C., you experienced firsthand the way this town rallies to the players. The respect, the love, the energy, what I call the emotional investment that everyone around this team, from a fan perspective, is pours on these players, on this team, on the experience. It's been a tough couple weeks since they've played a game. Not a lot of attention has been actually paid to the football, to the stuff that's been going on the field. What do you have to say to the fans, the people that have felt somewhat marginalized? We don't know Dan Snyder personally, and we don't judge him personally.
We've been here before as fans. We've experienced a down time when it comes to our football team. I can only say this: there are better times ahead. We always know that there are better times ahead. If you're a true Redskin fan, you bite the bullet. You use that one very important word: patience. It truly is a virtue. Now we're going to find out how virtuous individuals really are.
Joe, we just want to say we really appreciate your time. We thank you for being here today, and we look forward to seeing you, all the time.
Thank you.